Hello, Homo sapiens. I'm just logging in today to tell you a little bit about the power of manifestation, hopefully, to get you started in a new direction for the new year. And this is an unbelievable power that we have, and it's something that I've only just begun to discover. And in my journey of life, I've studied a lot of different religions and forms of spirituality. I was initiated into Taoist lineage to learn about curses and other types of spells at one time. And I've always been fascinated with ancient religions and mythology and the powers of the mind. And over the years, I've tried a lot of things. Like, mainly, I've used NLP and hypnosis as a model for Hermetic magic, and I've had some results from that. NLP and affirmations, things like that, psychological self-help, these are a lot like ancient magic spells, and I've had limited results with that stuff. But it's an interesting thing that the enlightened don't use those types of magic because they manifest what they need in life. And this is because the world is essentially a hologram or an illusion. We don't have to totally understand that right now. But what I want to tell you is, in the 90s, there was a really popular book and documentary called The Series, and it was all about manifesting. And people had these vision boards where they would put the visions of their future life on a board and look at them and visualize what their life would be. Well, that's part of the equation for creating a real strong manifestation. Lately, the teachings of an older teacher, Neville Goddard, have become more popular, and it focuses on a key element that was kind of missing from The Secret. And that is, you've got to feel it too. And the best time to manifest is right before you go to bed at night. Now, you know that time in between waking and sleeping where you're maybe thinking about your heart's desire, and there's that in and out, back and forth between being outside in the real world and being alone inside yourself with your own thoughts. That is the state when manifestations are most possible. Now, if you think back to the beginning of your life, you never can really remember the beginning. There's an earlier memory, or an earliest memory, but beyond that, if you try to stretch back further, it's really hard to pin any memory that you had down because you didn't have language. You weren't talking to yourself, providing commentary to help you remember these things. And as far as your mind knows, maybe that state before 2 or 3 years old when you had your first memory, it could have been an eternity. It could have encompassed many lives because you can't remember anything about it. Well, that's the same thing with the dreams you dream at night. Even if you lucid dream, even if you remember your dreams and write down your dreams in a dream journal every morning, you probably won't remember the beginning of the dream. It's that time that you don't remember when you are forming the next day's reality in this illusion called life. And so if you can go to sleep every night thinking about what your heart desires, and really feeling as you will feel, if you had that thing in your life that you'd want, you realize in your mind that you already have it. Pretty soon you'll have it. Now, one of the big Neville Goddard techniques that a lot of people are talking about on YouTube and TikTok is the first little experiment of getting yourself $10,000. And what they'll do is, just before you fall asleep, instead of counting sheep, they'll imagine counting out $10,000, one after the other, in your hand, and just 100 bill after $100 bill, noticing every little mark of the dollar until you get to 10,000. And you do that for 3 or 4 nights. And so many stories on the internet have people reporting actual success. They'll find videos on the internet of people who did that visualization technique, and then a couple of weeks later they're cleaning out a car, they find $10,000. Or someone gets a gig for $10,000 and the person has to pay them cash and they get the $10,000. And that helps you realize how malleable with your thoughts this universe is. Well, I didn't do the $10,000 thing. Instead, what I did is I imagined my bank account after all my bills were paid on November 7th. I visioned my bank account on my computer screen, and I envisioned the date, the exact every lettering of my bank account, and looking down to it into the checking part and seeing $10,030 in that account. And I did it on November 7th because I knew that's the time after I should have paid all of the previous month's bill. And I visualized this right before I went to bed. And $10,030, the reason I came up with that was because the first Neville Goddard technique was for $10,000 bills. And also I calculated if I had booked almost every tour on my roster for October, then there would be just enough money after I paid my bills to have about $10,030 as I estimated on my calculator. So that's how I came up with that money. Well, I kept doing that for 6 days. And as October went by, I was becoming more and more anxious about it because it didn't look like I was going to make anywhere near that $10,030. And so I kind of put it out of my head. And then November 7th rolled around. I'd almost forgotten about it. And there is a call on my phone from my ex-boss, and this is on November 7th. And my ex-boss has called me, and I got to call him back. And haven't heard from him from a long time, since like maybe 2021, 2022, I don't know. But I called him back, and he said, "Joe, I have an incredible opportunity for you. It's once in a lifetime, and it's a business that will make you at least $10,000 a month. And this is after you pay the monthly note on it to purchase the business." And I've waited this long, since November 7th, to share this manifestation with you. It not only did the universe answer me out of the blue with $10,030, I've done the math over the last 2 years, and it averages actually about $15,000, and after you pay the expenses, it averages a little over $10,000 a month for this new business. And so there's no doubt in my mind that I manifested this, and that you can manifest the same thing too. And it's part of having that feeling and doing it right before you go to bed. But there's also some other things that have changed in my life since then that have made these kind of energetic practices more powerful, and I will share them with you in the next couple of videos. One of them is being an empty vessel, like the Taoists talk about, having no anxiety or hang-ups inside, or at least as few as you can. You have to get to that state. And another one is an ancient Taoist practice that they now call semen retention. But I will talk about that more, and I think those two really make your manifestations, if you're a man, very powerful. But they're not totally needed to do a manifestation. But I also think that that's why the universe kind of over-delivered to me, because of my Eckhart Tolle moment, which I'll tell you about soon, and some Taoist practices. Anyway, I hope that helps, and I hope you'll tune in. I'll be talking about it more in the future.